Hello, everyone. Today is Friday, June the 12th, and this is the 13th edition of Book Fun Friday. Welcome. The young adult novel that I'm going to talk about today is titled With the Fire on High, and it's written by the novelist Elizabeth Acevedo. You may recognize that name from another book of hers titled The Poet X. I highly recommend that one as well as this one. You know, we librarians are always looking for the right book to match the right kid at the right time. Specifically, what we mean in that is we look for books that have characters who mirror our students. Our students like to read books that reflect themselves. Well, if you are looking for a book that contains characters of color, specifically girls of color, this would be a go-to option for that. Elizabeth Acevedo writes these characters beautifully, so realistically, so well. I think those particular students who are seeking that kind of story would love her writing for that. So let me tell you a little bit about this particular book then. The main character is a young woman, named Imani. Imani is getting ready to begin her senior year in high school. Couple things to know about Imani. She is a single mother who lives with her grandmother. The reason for that is her mother actually died giving birth to her, and shortly after her mother's death, her father just couldn't handle raising a child by himself following the death of his wife. And so he abandoned her and moved back to Puerto Rico, which was the country where he was from. So she's living now with her grandmother, and things are hard. Her grandmother is living on disability. There's a baby in the mix. Imani's trying to go to school and finish her senior year and graduate. And she's doing that along with working a part-time job. So things are tough. But the one thing that Imani has going for her, the one great thing Imani has going for her, is that she is an awesome cook. And I don't mean awesome at following a recipe, awesome at looking at a picture and making sure everything is done properly according to the picture. I'm talking about a cook who cooks from her heart, her soul. Cooking is intuitive to her. She just knows what spices go with which vegetable, which goes with which meat, knows how to put it all together to just make a fantastic meal. Well, it just so happens that her senior year, her school is offering a culinary arts elective class. And so, of course, she signs up to take this class. And some really cool things happen in this class. She meets a boy. Of course, she meets a boy. His name is Malachi. She is introduced to a professional chef and her teacher. But even more so than that, this class really sets a path for her that leads to her future. So I'm going to share a chapter. This is very early in the story. This chapter gives you a sense of Imani's cooking abilities that have apparently been with her all of her life. And the title of this chapter is Magic. If you ask her to tell it, Buela, that's her grandmother, Buela starts with the same story. I was a little older than baby girl is now, and always following Buela into the kitchen. I would sit at the kitchen table, eating bootleg Cheerios, or rice, or something I could pick up with my fingers and shove into my mouth, while she played El Gran Combo, or Celia Cruz, or La Lupe loud on her old school radio, shimmying her hips while stirring a pot. She can't remember what made that day different. If my pops, Julio, had been late in arriving on one of his yearly visits from San Juan, or if it had been a time she'd gotten reprimanded at work for taking too long on someone's measurements, but this particular day, she didn't turn the radio on, and she wasn't her usual self at the stove. At one point, she must have forgotten I was there because she threw the kitchen rag down on the floor and left. She just walked straight out of the kitchen, crossed the living room, opened the front door, and was gone. We can't agree on what she'd started cooking. She says it was a stew, nothing that would burn quick, but although my own memory is childhood fuzzy, I remember it being a pot of moro, rice and beans. Definitely something that would soak up water. Buela says she just stepped out onto the stoop to clear her head, and when she came back, 10 minutes later, I had pulled the step stool to the stove, had a bunch of spices on the counter, and had my small arm halfway into the pot, stirring. It goes without saying, she had a fit. Thought I had been about to burn myself, burn dinner, or worse, burn the house. Buela would argue that's not the right order of things, and I know she would have definitely been upset if I hurt myself, but if I burned the house, girl, there is no coming back from that. All to say, nothing burned. In fact, when Buela tasted it, whatever it was, she says it was the best thing she had ever eaten. How it made her whole day better, sweeter. Says a memory of Puerto Rico she hadn't thought about in years reached out like an island hammock and cradled her close. When she tells the story, it's always a different simile, but it's still sweet like that. All I know is she cried into her plate that night. And so, at the age of 4, I learned someone could cry from a happy memory. Ever since then, Buela is convinced I have magical hands when it comes to cooking. And I don't know if I really have something special or if her telling me I got something special has brainwashed me into believing it. But I do know I'm happier in the kitchen than anywhere else in the world. It's the one place I let go and only need to focus on the basics: taste, smell, texture, fusion, beauty. And something special does happen when I'm cooking. It's like I can imagine a dish in my head, and I just know that if I tweak this or mess with that, if I give it my special brand of saison, I'll have made a dish that never existed before. Angelica thinks it's because we live in the hood, so we never have exactly the right ingredients. We gotta innovate, baby. My Aunt Sarah thinks it's in our blood, an innate need to tell a story through food. Buela thinks it's a blessing, magic, that my food doesn't just taste good, it is good. Straight up bottled goodness that warms you and makes you feel better about your life. I think I just know that this herb with that veggie, with that meat, plus a dash of eso ají will work. And that if everything else goes wrong, a little squeeze of lime and a bottle of hot sauce ain't never hurt nobody. And again, this is the book with the fire on high, and it's written by Elizabeth Acevedo. Well, folks, thanks as always for watching. I do appreciate you tuning in. I hope you are well and healthy, as always, and your family and friends are well and healthy. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and until next time, take care. Bye.